Pádraig go Loingsigh as chundé an dúin. Creidim héan gur duine é Pádraig go Loingsigh nach bhuair a cheart na chachram riamh. Ní bhuair sé aitheantas ar bí lena bheá, agus ar bhealach tá smáil an áras a nuas ó hen. Is mithid dearú a chur leis an scanal sin. Creidtear gur rugú é sa bhliain 1756 I Lough Nealin agus dá sé an níos an sin. Ba a Lough Nealin a bhí scoil chlúite clásicach a stiúrú ag muintir I Loingsigh le tam a maitle blianta ribh dhearú an 8ú haois. Bhé léon na Gaeilge agus léon na láidine a chur chun cin inti. Agus is cinse go bhfuair Pádraig idithas agus ilmhaint saige héan an sin. Duine eile den na scolarí a drasal ar an scóil seo ba é an dochtar Pádraig Mac Muirlein a bhí ina aspag ar dhuin agus conara. Rugú é sin sa Phairiste Chéarna, hart fan am Chéarna le Pádraig. Agus trachtan Monsignor James O'Laverty in a lore historical account of Down and Connor. Deir sé an sin, Dr. McMullen received his early education in his native parish, where a school long famous for classical literature and the Irish language had been kept by successive members of the family of Lynch. Agus ag an deir sé, the last of that family who taught in Lough Island was Pádraig Lynch. And in a war here, the Irish language in Belfast and County Down, tratan Seamus O'Cassacha tóireacht na bhíorainn Lorig Christe, sin aistrachan da Imitatio Christi le Thomas A. Kempis, a rinnew is castle le Gundy an Dúin sa bhliain 1760 sa dó. Deirtear gur bé an Dr. Seamus McPoling a scríomh ach níl aonaise an le seo cinntiú. Ach tá sé simil ag dearú an aistrach an seo tá listad den na síntasóirí. Agus tá Terence Lynch ó Lough Nealin luite ina másc. Deir O'Cassada gur bé seo athair Pádraig ó Loingsigh atá luite, agus go raibh sé ina bhaintear scála an sin fásta. Anis duine den na síntasóirí eile ba é an Dr. Theophilus McCartan agus ceapú ina aspag ar dhuin agus conar é sa bhliain 1760. Agus thug sé sin a chud seanmóireachta an Gaeilge le linn dá bheith ina hagart Pairiste Lough Nealin, hart fan am Chéarna. Corú léinn in Ulscoil an Saborn a Paris. Fuair sé sin bás sa bhliain 1768 agus corú I Lough Nealin in eice le siapal bheith cartan an sin. Ach tá sé simúil bliain ribh sin 1772. Haoine Pádraig ó Loingsigh chumna an Dr. McCartan. Agus is é seo an céadúr a luirtear Pádraig sna leathannaí staire. Anis má bugan muid a raibh go dtí 1794. Bhí Pádraig ina bhaintear Gaeilge sa Belfast Academy agus a dtítí príomhaideacha I Malfarste. Bhí cumann ruúnda don na hairní aontaithe sa chathair sin ag an am, agus bhí nuachtain an Northern Star acu, chun tuairimí poblachtánacha a chríomhscéalú. Bhí an fógra seo leanas mar chud den aigrean nuachtain a fáilsiú in Abran 1795. Agus deir sé, an attempt to revive the grammatical and critical knowledge of the Irish language in this town is generously made by Mr. Lynch. He teaches publicly in the academy and privately in several families. The merchant and artist would reap great benefit from the knowledge of Irish. They would then be qualified for carrying on trade and manufactures in every part of their native country. Such knowledge, we understand, could be easily acquired in 3 or 4 months by the assistance of Mr. Lynch. Anis bhí buinteach big ag Thomas Russell leis an Northern Star, agus ina éireannach aontaithe. Bhí sé sin ina Lorlanna sa Linen Hall Library, agus am éigean a rí 1794 thug Pádraig ó Loingsigh cuairt ar an Lorlan chun ceachta na Gaeilge a thabhairt don Russellach. Lean siad in na cuairteanna sin, agus mhair an muinteras idriú go ceann rint blianta. Is dócha gur bé Russell a chur Pádraig in aithne don Dr. Whitley Stokes, éireannach aontaithe eile. Bhí sé sin ina idse a galaiste na trínoide a mailethe clia ag an am. Agus bhí sé ag olbhú aigrean Gaeilge de thuisceil níomhluchas agus de gríomhartha na Naspal, agus dástaí sé Pádraig le cuidiú thuairt. Má aonaise ar sin tá coppla littear a scríomha ag Russell atá anis sa Russell Correspondence a Lorlan Chalaiste na Trínoide Máile Lia. Is léir go raibh Russell ina idirgóile ag Stokes agus an Lynchach. Ag ceann na littear a scríb Pádraig ag Russell deir sé, I am proceeding on with the work as I told Dr. Stokes, according to the method I judge most eligible. I have now 10 chapters done, and I find I can write more than a chapter in a day, and henceforth can write it so correctly that there would be no need of it being rewritten, provided the method is approved. Agus a littear eile a scríb sé díreach ag Stokes Hain, deir sé, I have the Gospel of St. Luke done, and a part of the Acts. I have taken pains to have it correct and legible, and have good hopes that it will answer the desired end. I have tried several who never read any Irish, and find that they could read this almost at first sight. I would not wish to entrust it to printers unless I were there on the spot myself to correct proof. Otherwise, they'll make mistake after mistake, one letter misplaced for another. They would join 2 words into one and divide one word into 2. This always has been the case where Irish was printed at a distance from the writer. If you find employment from me in your library in translating or transcribing so that I might be able to support myself in Dublin for a few weeks, I would willingly go up there when this is done and see it correctly printed. Agus scríb sé an littear sin a mí baltainna 1796. Anis dulcí Stokes an Saothar sa bhliain 1799, agus is é seo an leanas an méide tá scríomh ar an leathanach teideal. An soscail de réir luchas agus gríomhartha na Naspal, the Gospel according to St. Luke and the Acts of the Apostles. Tá conlan ar gach leathanach, lugan béarla ar thaobh amháin agus lugan Gaeilge ar an taobh eile. Tá fóriach Gaeilge an dún le sonrú sa text, ar a bhfuil clá Rómanach ar. Is léir gur scríomh an leabhar seo don ché a raibh leo an bhéarla a bhain aige, ach is sampla maiith é de Gaeilge leabhartha a gcondaí an dún ag an am, Madlach Stokes leis an obair a rinn Pádraig ó Loingsigh. Ní féidir dhéanamh amach cibhiad a bhí Stokes faoi chumann ag Pádraig ó níl aim luaite sa leor. Ach níor rud neamhghra é an uair úd ag daoine mar Stokes a gan méid a cumann do scoláire bachta a abhail. Anis mí man fór na bliana 1795, bhí fógras an Northern Star go mbeadh irisleoir beag Bollig an Talar ar díl in Oifig an Nuachtain. Agus bhí an fógras seo on Monday next will be published the first edition of Bollig an Talar or the Gaelic magazine. Agus ar an luan in é sin an céad lá mí dhearr fór ní é sin fáilsíodh an chéad uimhir den leor an beag céad fiche leathanach. Bhí grammar an folklór, scéalta féiniachta, coppla aistearthan ar óran Gaeilge, pádraiche agus agalah himplaí Gaeilge. Agus ba é Pádraig ó Loingsigh héin a chur an leoran amach, agus ba é a cheap na phrases and dialogues, agus thug an Northern Star lán tafiach dó. Scríobh siad, the attempt which has been made by Mr. Lynch to revive and preserve a knowledge and taste of the beauties of the Irish language by his publication of the Gaelic magazine deserves and we trust will meet with every encouragement from his countrymen. Jalrian sé go raibh lau ag Thomas Russell sa Saothar go mhaith, mar bhí an méid seo scríofa sa réimhre. When anything novel or out of the common track is offered to the public, it is commonly expected that some apology should be made or something said to show that the subject matter is important or interesting. But when it is considered that the main design of the following work is nothing else than to recommend the Irish language to the notice of Irishmen, any argument laid down on that head to persuade the natives that their own language is of some importance to them would appear quite superfluous in the eyes of foreigners. But seeing that the Gaelic has been not only banished from the court, the college and the bar, but that many tongues and pens have been employed to cry it down, and to persuade the ignorant that it was a harsh and barbarous jargon, and that their ancestors from whom they derived it were an ignorant, uncultivated people, it becomes then necessary to say something in reply. It is chiefly with a view to prevent in some measure the total neglect and to diffuse the beauties of this ancient and once admired language that the following compilation is offered to the public, hoping to afford a pleasing retrospect to every Irishman who respects the traditions or considers the language and compositions of our early ancestors as a matter of curiosity or importance. Is léir ó na Habertí agus ó na Hagalah go bhfuil samplaí maithe sa leor an seo de Gaelic Condaí an Dúin, agus mar uimnitir í san am. Is mór an cosalacht idir na Habertí in Bollig an Talar agus iad a chorú ad lá a Grammar Nielsen, an introduction to the Irish language. Blór a chorú amach sa bhliain 18 agus a 8. Ach ní de haisme a tharla sé sin. I rath éimean a bariste na Kilmóra sa dúin mar a ró a athair ina bhiniste Presbyteirach a rugadh William Nielsen sa bhliain 1774. Agus masan Brendan ó Buachalla ina leor héan a Malfarste Coiscuin go gaithfí sé go raibh an Gaeilg ón cléamhain amach aige. Mar scríobh sé sin, mar raibh an Gaeilg as a óige héan aige, agus ceapam héan go raibh. Is deimhníoach gur ólam sé í sa scoil ar a chorú ar dús é, an scoil a bhí ag muintir Loingsigh a Lochan Uilinn, agus is é Pádraig ó Loingsigh héan an tiide a bhí aige. Anis chur aontaíolas oltach athló ar an leor céarna sa bhliain 19 agus sin an leor héan an sin an introduction to the Irish language. A scríb William Neilson ag an am sin. Níl Pádraig ó Loingsigh luaite a leor Neilson, ach bhí an méid seo le rá ag Sean O'Donovan in an Irish grammar héan a fáilsú couple of tamil blianti on the Asian. In the year 1808 was published in Dublin an introduction to the Irish language by the Reverend William Neilson. This grammar is a joint production of Dr. Neilson and Mr. Pádraig Lynch. Mr. Lynch had a good practical knowledge of the dialect of Irish spoken in east of Ulster, but was a rude scholar. The orthography, however, and grammatical rules are adapted to this dialect and not to the general language. The arrangement of the work is excellent, but it is to be regretted that the examples given to illustrate the rules are, for the most part, provincial and barbaric. Beidir nach raibh Pádraig páirte go ddíreach I jumpsuit and grammar ach is follas gur win Neilson féim as obair I Loingsigh, go háirithe bullig an talar. Is on an cuid mhór rudaí sa bheirt acu idir grammar agus córa. Is ró costal gur bé Neilson héan a crinniú agus a scríb síos na familiar phrases and dialogues atá mar cuid den leor héan. Anis má bugan muid a rá go dtí an bhliain 1800. Bhí leibhscríbhine a scríobh Pádraig ó Dornín agus Pádraig ó Pronte a cópáil ag Pádraig ó Loingsigh an bhliain sin. Dostaí Samuel Coulter as Dundalgan san obair seo, agus tá na leibhscríbhine ar cíbhnú in Iarsmalan na Bratainne a London go fáil. I measc na leibhscríbhine seo tá óráid a tugadh ar was ón I nGael de Tlan Iwi a baú in ón na Wana an Wana in 1724. Ag tús an tír tugtar críomh seanchas óan agus a leithéid sa sin, agus an sin leanan an óráid. Anis tá aisteachan béarla an a chur na nuail gur bé an Dr. Seamus McPolin a com agus win an sagart seo le Joisia Dramór le páirste an at Luana agus páirste Kilbrone. Scríb Douglas de Héide a díomh an óráid seo agus bhí an méid seo le rá aige. The Irish text of this oration is remarkably simple and could easily be understood in every part of Ireland. No doubt all the inhabitants of Ulster of the Gaelic race continued to use their language for at least 2 generations later than the date of this speech. And an O'Neill of the 18th century, unlike his latter-day descendants, would have turned in his grave had his eulogy been pronounced in English. Anis tá go leor scéalta eile na leibhscríbhine seo. Comhairle Bhecláwa in a measc, Actra an Mhada Mhaol, Ide Chlan Isneach, Tain Buchailneán, Filiocht agus Órainn agus Danta Gra Comáid. Tá scéal eile dar teidil mac na mí chóirle. Agus tosaíonn an scéal seo leis na focail. Mise mac na mí chóirle. Muna cholasibh ní miste daobh ifrí díam an mó uadneach aisteach teaghiam mé híon a sí. Nis creidte gur cum brian dú ó rathalaí fila ó conaí an cabhain an scéal seo. I brós agus anán ina riomh sé ar na hatarí éifeasach a bhain don mac mí chóirle. Nis cur Seosamh Watson aigear ar an scéal ina leor taid sé fáilsiús a bhliain 1969 agus tá leor sin agam an seo mac na mí chóirle. Bhain sé úsáid as lámhscríbhí í Loingsigh ó prontaí agus scolar eile ó condaí an dúin. Ón ó gribín an taimne bhí ar. Ba as bailile bh críochain lámh Caisleán Willan éisin. Bhí léon na Gaeilge agus na Laidíní ar ó gribín agus is cosúil gur saigart nó ábhar saigart a bhí ann. Tá nuacht a bug ag taobh an láimhscríbhín seo agus deir sé gur scríobh an maclóir seo sa sráidbhála le Pádraig ó Loingsigh de réir trí faoin an duilleog nó leascilín an chart le thuasaigh agus ar chostas Maistear Samuel Coulter. Anis ma héanmid siar get a bug is féidir gur bé Thomas Russell a chur Pádraig ó Loingsigh in aithne de Edward Bunting an fear a chur an chéad chrúiseacht fiúntaach de Sean Ceol na hÉireann ar fáil don phobal. Anis bhí Bunting ina chónaí le muite bhreachreachtain is sráid a gún an áil nuair a tionalú féile na greitsearí I mí uail 1792. Bhí Wolf Tóna lethair ag an am Céarna cé gur thug sé neamh ard don na rudí a bhí a gol rainn nuair dúirt sé strum and be damned. Ach ba dhéan cospóir a bhí ag lucht ceannis na féise Sean Ceol tradiisiúnta na hÉireann a bháilú sula méid sé go bháil. Hannig chuid mhór chláirsteoirí go Belfáiste le páirte ghlacu agus mhar an éis cúig lá. Ach bhí Bunting a láthair agus bhreac sé sin síos nótaí na fun a séniu. Teigtear gur lua go raibh féim leis na focail Gaeilge a chur síos go mhaith leis na fun. Agus ar an air seo, ar an air nach raibh Gaeilge ag Bunting, fástaíodh Pádraig ó Loingsigh leis an tír a shiúil agus na focail a bháilú. Ar a thuras don Loingsigh is thuig muite bhreachtain a scríobhad sé, mar is a deach bhreachtain a bhí an obair a stiúrú. Anis tá litreacha Giolla agus leor na hórainn a bhain leis an túras ar cíbhnú a leorlann ollscoil na banríonna an Belfáiste go fáil. Is sa bhliain 1892 a rinn sé an turas seo. Bhfuil sé amach a mí baltaine ag tuairt cuairte ar dhearthair Bunting an nráithid atha, agus uaidh sin siar go condaí na mí, an cabhain, Formanach agus a raibh trí cúig a connachta. Anis, I ceann na littear a scríobh sé ag Sean McGrachtan. Dúirt sé, I do not know how long this may take, but I am resolved to be always either writing or travelling. and to make the best I can for my employer. I am sure I shall be in want of money by the time I am at Castlebar. You will please to let Mr. Bunting know that I expect he will allow me a guinea and a half per week. I would not wish to have any complaint at my return for extravagance. I am now convinced that the best way is to go to the shebeen houses and find out some little blasting schoolmaster and warm his mouth with whisky, and he will find out the singers for me. For my own part, you may depend on it, I shall drink no whisky nor spirits until I return to Belfast. I shall live as the case requires in this wild country. I hope that I shall be able to show 21 songs for every week that I am on this tour, and more if I can. Agus an Giolla scríobh sé, I made good progress in Castlebar. I got 47 songs in it, having stayed 10 days. It cost me just 2 guineas, notwithstanding that I had taken lodgings in a private house. I resolved to apply myself to the lower classes, and thus on Monday evening the 24th, and passing by a broguemaker's shop, I heard him singing a good Irish song. I stepped in and asked him if he would take a pot of beer. He came with me to the house of John McAvilly, a jolly publican, who sang well and was acquainted with all the good singers in town. On Tuesday I found a hairdresser, a shoemaker, a mason and a fiddler, all good singers. I attended the mechanics in their own houses and workshops. They would take no money. I had to treat them and their wives and children all the same. I stuck close to the business both early and late, till I drained them all of the songs they had in a short time. Agus is simil ag Jeru and Litcher Shaw ta postscript on. Dear Sir, you would please to write a line or two to the Reverend P. McCartan of Loughan Island. Let him know I am well, or send some word to my children, and it will oblige me much. Is simil an earscreeving Shaw, Jalrian sé go raibh ban chéile Pádraig marú ag an am sin. Is léir an Giolla agus na litrathe go raibh Pádraig a gruachas an codjas mó da héal, agus hiú lehanach sa Giolla tá méid seo scríofa ige an Gaeilge. Is trú a far fallú gan charad. Díri leis an linseach cruisteacht mór mhuireann a bhailiú, agus nuair a tháinig imleoir uair eile de chuid bunting amach 1899, ní raibh teas na tuairis na focail an, ná ní raibh amhail bí an go bhuirthas codú ón linseach. Ach is costal gur sé éisin an person versed in the Irish language a drachtan bunting in a collection of the ancient music of Ireland. Anish a mí van an jóir in 8 is a tree. First Grimm Thomas Russell ag na húdra sí a mailithe lia agus go Corú faoi tríal an nun Pádraig, agus corú scart a lán féinithe as condaí an dúin, agus is follas nach raibh fun cud acu féinise bí a thuirt ina aghaidh. Ina másc bhí Pádraig ó Loingsigh. Conní Pádraig siar an aonaise tusk ard vas a bheith ige Russell. Far a bhí riamh lech cinnealta leis a dúirt sé. Ach bhí Pádraig curtha in Yevan fá cocaise, ribh an tríal, on a charge of high treason. Agus sa Jeru bhí féinise a thuirt os cóir na cuairte. agus de contas sin nói. Pádraig Lynch swore, says he is a professor of the Irish language, that he did reside 9 years ago in Belfast, and for the last 2 years has a house in Loingsigh, where his family principally resides. He knew the prisoner and was sorry to see him there in the dock. Agus nói lan an trial arai. He was told it was his duty to tell the truth. He has reason to think he was not in danger, and he thinks he will not be prosecuted, as he is an evidence. Did not give information earlier on account of the respect he had for Russell. He was a friend and a benefactor, and he wished not to be his prosecutor. The Anion Shaw, bhí go leor cruúthanas ag na húdraisí le na haismins go raibh Russell ran farteach sa cóchealaigh I mí uail. Agus nói crothú Thomas Russell in Pádraig an 10 lá is bhí de dhearr 4 1893. Is léir go raibh an linseach a mhuill wais nuair a ggó é, ach is dócha nach méid sé ábalta Russell a thabhail ar aon gáid cibribe. Agus dúirt an Dr. Seamus MacDonald, no, the Brutus of Belfast, mar a tugtar in the Asian. Dúirt sé, I need not dwell upon what passed soon after, when Pádraig Lynch was apprehended and fixed upon to identify Russell, in which transaction Lynch was entirely blameless in my opinion. In ye trial Russell, níl aon umra Pádraig ó Lynchí níos mó. Imíonn sé leis as leathannaí na stara, agus níl aon teacht thaithe bí eile leis ó hin. Ní fis ach de réir hanachas na háite, dil sé a bhalla go nach an Uilinn agus deirtear gur a fuair sé bás. A leor na páiriste tá an intrail seo le fáil. Bás an 7 lá is bhí de mí na saona 1838. Pat Lynch, brother of Eliza. Ní rud a bí eile scríofa an sin, ach dlacham gur seo Pádraig ó Lynche soganne. Deirtear go bhfuil sé curtha a realaigh an Uilinn, agus de réir na seandaoine begrá le sean lach bheith an uaidh sin, ach ar an ábhar gur tógadh Edward O'Toole le muintir in Lynchí. Fuair clán I thuathal an plata le hidirtheacht agus thug séadsan lach chimneacháin uair san áit a rith na seachtóidí. Le linn héal rinn Pádraig ó Lynchí méid bacht ibre ar son na Gaeilge, agus ní bhuair sé a cheart riamh lena bheo. Agus ar bhealach tá smáil an áras Ní dóilm gur bé fineise an Lynchí a chroch Russell, bhí go leor ar an láthair a raibh níos mó eolais acu. Tharla an Lynseach sáite a grothaí políteachta nach raibh simar bí ag iontu. Ba scríomhaí agus fear léanta agus díal sé go dtír as a díalseacht de chúis na Gaeilge. Is mithid a slánú a dheanú ar aim. Gur maith